know, because you talked about earlier about, mental health and the struggles and some of the things that you dealt with, in those areas. And I don't, we don't have to go like, super deep and, into like all of that stuff like that. But you talked about the, depression and the addictions and the different things like that. If you were talking to younger musicians or just musicians in general, people in general that are struggling with some of the same things that you struggle with, because that the reality is somebody, while we're talking, somebody under the sound of our voice is in that place that you were in and struggling with the things that you struggle with.
Yeah.
What would be those pieces of advice, those things you wish somebody would have told you while you were in the struggle, while you were going through what you were going through, to
Right.
kind of help break some of that thing or get you on a path to healing, on a path to wholeness? What are those pieces of advice you can give? Because we struggle with that in our community. I've had bouts with depression. I've
Yeah.
had bouts with sexual addiction. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So it's needed in our community to have have those conversations. So I want to
Yeah.
give a space for you to talk about that a little bit.
I appreciate that, man. I would say first to those of us who are parents, create those spaces for your kids, as early as possible,
Mm,
to be able to talk freely and openly without judgment. You know what
that's
I'm saying?
good.
Create that no judgment zone, if you will, in your homes and in your families. And, my wife and I, of course, are new parents.
Mm,
However, we've been shedding on parenting and
yeah,
studying and talking to other parents, things like that, and doing a little homework. And of course, with my wife being a therapist, and working with children and families a lot. She's seen a lot. She's able to what she's able to share with me generally. We just ingest it and we
yeah.
kind of take it in and say, okay, how are we going to do this? But we also look
Mm,
at our own journeys with our parents and just people around us and how we, like you
right.
said, as a black community, have been raised. And if we're all honest, most of us in this age group, 30 and up, if you will,
Yeah.
have grown up in an environment where we couldn't always say, what it was. We couldn't always say what we
Mm,
felt. So I would encourage, first our parents and our aunties and uncles and godparents and guardians, whoever, grandparents, create those spaces
yeah.
in your homes and within your families to uh, allow kids, teens, young adults to just express themselves
Yeah.
to you, to tell you, hey, this is what's going on. Open those conversations up
That's
because
good.
most of us, especially our guy, our men, our boys, we ain't gonna say it. You know what I'm saying? We're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna say it.
Mm-hmm.
We gonna say it to our peers, but we ain't gonna say it to even our fathers if they're there or our
That's
mothers or
true.
whoever. We're not always gonna say it. So open those conversations up, not just over the dinner table, but just let them know, hey, in the car or just different spaces.
That's good.
And we have so many tools at our disposal now to be able to help do that. I would just encourage that first, and then to us as the people going through it,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it might be. I called out and I named depression, which was fed by low self esteem, which
Mm.
was fed by, you
Mm-hmm.
know, just not feeling affirmed, or not
Oh
feeling
wow.
like I
Yeah.
had a place,
Yeah.
or knowing that I was different, knowing that I thought different, like John said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying, I was a creative, and didn't know I was gifted, I was
Yeah.
smart, but I didn't really know. Hey, there's another side to this that kind of happens,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
wanting to be accepted. And I'm starting piano lessons because my parents, hey, we want to get them in something. And
Right.
but they didn't know I was struggling with while I got to while everybody else was out playing football and everything. I got to practice, and I'm
Mm.
thinking that or I had, one or two kids laugh at me. Oh, you playing the piano. You need to be out here, And
Yeah.
my type of personality, at even as a kid, I internalized that and
Internalized.
thought it
Yeah.
was something wrong with me. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And if
Yeah.
there's no communication, if we're closing up, nobody will ever know.
That's
And
good.
that's where the enemy of our souls, the
Mm.
devil, will come in and just wreak havoc. And that's what happened to me.
Wow.
So for us, I would say, don't hold it in, even if it's a small tidbit at a time.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody. Talk to somebody in your family. Talk to somebody in your circle of friends.
That's
You know
good.
what I'm saying? Talk to a teacher. Talk to whoever it is, a mentor. And then eventually, talk to somebody who is a professional
Mm.
in counseling.
Yeah.
Talk to a professional, whether they be Christian, non-Christian, or whatever. But talk to somebody who is a professional, because they can help us understand what's going
Yes.
on in our minds, understand what's going on in our emotions. They have the language and they have the know-how that we don't have.
That's good.
So at some point, talk to someone that is a professional counselor or therapist, even a
Mm.
life coach if you want to start there.
Yeah.
But the whole point is really getting it out, so that, again, somebody else can kind of come into our space and say, you know what, that's not
Yeah.
really normal, or you
Yeah.
know what,
That's
hey,
good.
this is a way you can kind of deal with that.
That's good.
I think it starts there, man. I think it starts there. On the spiritual side of things, Jesus, came that we might have life, and
Yeah.
life more abundantly. You know what I'm saying? He came to save us. He came to deliver us from bondages, and break curses, on our
Mm.
lives. And I believe that we deal with those as well. We deal with
Yeah.
those things that, some things are passed down,
Yeah. Yeah.
in our family lines
Yeah.
and things like that, in our bloodlines, that we don't realize as we're going through it. It's something that we see later when we look back, and we start seeing these
Yeah.
iterations of things that kind of
Yeah.
show up in our lives. And
Yeah.
it's like, wait, my uncle was this, and my
Yeah.
daddy was this, and my,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So, know that that's at work as well, and know that, that Jesus is here. He's real,
Hmm.
and wants to deliver us from that, so that we can have
That's
the life
good, man.
that He promised us. And that's the bottom line, with everything, is that, we're here for a purpose, and we're here on purpose. And
Mm.
and we can enjoy our lives. We can have a life of peace and
Yes.
joy and all
Yes.
that kind of stuff,
Yes.
and just and knowing who we are in Christ, if we give our lives over to Him. And all of the stuff that I stated, even the stuff that, I didn't state, or that I didn't personally go through,
Yeah.
that you might be going through,
Yeah.
there's help for it, and we can be free of it if we want to be free.
That's good, man. That's amazing. I mean, and I don't want people to look over those simple principles,
Yeah.
because I was talking with C Dub and Carlton, and you guys can go back and watch his interview and stuff. And we had a segment in there where we talked about therapy, because he went through a divorce with his wife, and he said the first thing that he did, but when he knew that it was about to go into that place, he immediately enrolled in therapy,
Yeah.
and got therapy, because he knew what he was about to go through and what it was going to do to his mental state. And so he got ahead of the curve. And one of the things he shared in that interview, was that, people there's a stigma that's put on therapy, that if you
Yeah.
go through it, you must be crazy, or you must be going, it must be something wrong with you. It's like the stigma that's put on it, especially in our community. Like you said, we don't talk. Me and my wife was talking about this a couple of days ago, that, like, man, when we was growing, like, hearing the word mental health, like, I
We
think
didn't hear those two
yeah,
words
we didn't
together
hear
at
those
all.
two words together.
That
That
wasn't even a
wasn't
phrase.
wasn't a phrase, man. Maybe the last 10 years of our lives, we started hearing this word mental health. And I know the internet helped proliferate that and shine
Right.
the light on some issues and things that people went through. But, like, no, growing up, we didn't have those things. We didn't have those outlets. We didn't have those spaces to talk to. I was branded as a child that having ADHD,
Yep.
whatever the acronym is. I was branded at having that. But because I struggled with my attention span. But what it was is I'm wired different, and it took
Exactly.
it
Yep.
took me longer to figure that out, because they tried to medicate me, and medication didn't work. But when I found music,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly it unlocked something in my brain. I don't know what it was. Can't speak to it, but music is literally what saved my life. Grades started getting better. All
Wow.
of that. I came off Ritalin. I came off all of those things when I started music, and it channeled something that was lying dormant in my brain. And it started something flowing, and started some chemical releases that needed to happen,
Wow.
that
Yeah.
helped me to focus, that helped me to get my lessons. It helped me see, helped me learn, helped me come out of, like, all of those different, trouble spots that I was having in my learning. Like, music started to help me make sense of math and English,
Yeah.
and, you know what I
Wow.
mean, and reading.
Amazing.
It unlocked some things in my brain, and I came off of Ritalin. But before that, I was going through to a psychiatrist. I was
Mm.
going Ritalin. I was going through all of that as a young child, because they were trying to figure out what was wrong with me, and they just slapped ADD on it. But it was that I was just wired different, and it needed
Yeah.
something to unlock that. So I want to And even now, me and my wife are, just some things that we're going through. We've been talking about getting into some therapy, not marital things that we're dealing with, but like some trauma that we've dealt with from,
Sure.
some other stuff, some other outside stuff that I won't get into on this podcast. Some just some other stuff, but we'll get into that when I have my wife on. We'll actually talk about that. But we're talking about going through that just to kind of, woosah from that and kind of get beyond that and push beyond it. So if you're been on that side and you're on that place where you're thinking like, okay, do I need to have therapy? Do I need to go to this? Do I need to talk to somebody? I'd say yes, do it,
Yes, absolutely.
because, we have
Absolutely.
too many of our creatives that are leaving here prematurely because they don't deal with those internal issues. They don't deal with that psychological buildup of low self-esteem and self-worthlessness and poor self-image and all of those things. You don't deal with those things, and they eventually, it doesn't matter how much money you have or how many people you've touched or how many records you've done and produced and how many artists you played for, and all of these things be nothing if your mental state is crap, when
Yeah.
you step off
Yeah.
the stage. So I admonish all of our creatives, because we do have a different chemical balance that's going on in our
Right.
brain
Right.
that other people don't have, and it pushes that. And I don't know if you can speak any more to that or any less to that, but
No, I mean, you said it perfectly. I would just only add that, therapy isn't just for problems.
yes.
Therapy isn't just for when you have problems. Now, yeah, it may start that way,
Hmm.
but a lot of times people will kind of medicate the problem
Hmm.
with therapy, if that makes sense.
That's
They'll
good.
treat the problem with therapy, and then when the problem seems like it's subsided, they're like, okay, I don't need it anymore.
Mm,
And the reality is, it is an investment. It's an investment of time. It's an
yeah,
investment of money and
that's good.
resources.
Yeah,
But there are also ways that you can make sure it happens. Like you can do it on your calendar. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
You can schedule it as frequent or
yeah,
as spread out as you need to be
yeah.
for your
Especially
budget.
on the pandemic now,
Yeah,
they
with the
got
pandemic.
better help and
Yeah,
all of these,
exactly.
these
So
websites and
many
stuff.
different resources
Yeah,
out there. So many different resources out there. So I would say check out all those resources. It does not have to be a burden, but also know that it's not just for the problem, but it's for your life.
that's
So if
good.
you feel like I'm good, everything's going good, get in therapy because you're gonna find yourself talking about something that will trigger, and they'll see something in you,
Mm,
in what you're saying, and they'll say, wait, hey, hold on, let's talk about that a little deeper.
hmm.
Therapy is challenging, or even if you're not in therapy with a licensed professional, just talking can be challenging. But
That's good.
I
Yeah,
want to encourage everybody to accept the challenge,
I love it.
and just go for it, and just watch it improve your life. There are creatives right now. I won't even call their names. They're creative. There are friends of ours right now in their 40s, late 40s, 50s, who are they're posting about it. They're just
Mm,
starting therapy, and seeing a world of difference in, again, their mental state, how they're thinking about the world, how they're seeing
that's
themselves.
good.
They're it's improving their relationship with their children. All these types of things can happen,
Yeah,
and it's not too late. So
it's
I
not
just
too
want to
late.
encourage everybody.
Love it, man.